Wow, it is the first Sunday of 2021. I don't know about you, but it feels kind of like a we made it moment for all of us. I suppose I am, at least today, what I'm thinking about is that I am so grateful that all of you are still here, still online. And I gotta tell you, we will be here for you going forward. No end in sight. This is what we're doing. I realize that we do this online thing quite a bit differently than a lot of churches do. But it's who we are. No doubt about that. I've gone and I've watched a lot of other online services, and they're really good, and I think they reflect the resources and the priorities of those churches, as does ours, and that's why we are here like this. Our goal is to have this online community that meets here. Our goal is that we begin to develop deeper connections with each other and with our world. And I know that's a difficult thing these days. We're also going to try to communicate effectively and creatively the message of Jesus. I won't lie, it is a lot of work. But it's a burden on our hearts here that we are committed to. And so, yeah, we're glad that you're here, and we will continue to be glad that you are here. Now, about communion, just a reminder, do this each week. Make sure you go right now and you get some juice and some bread, and have it there on your table or there next to you, because we will here in a few minutes share in the Lord's Supper together. I'd also like to encourage you right now to, if you have it handy, to get a pencil or a pen and a pad of paper. If you are used to taking notes on your phone or your tablet, that's more than fine, but you may want to take a few notes right now. At least in a few minutes. So I want you to be ready for that. I'll tell you when that time comes. As we begin, though, the very first thing that I want to say to you is that our Advent conspiracy goal that we had beginning this fall season was $25,000. And as of this past Sunday, we have raised so far $28,548. God, I mean, that is just fantastic. And it gives our Advent Conspiracy team even more money to disperse to more people in need. And there are certainly lots of people and ministries here at home and around the world that need that money. And so just thank you for participating in this. There's time. You can still give towards that. There are still more needs. But as of right now, we are at 28,500 plus. Amazing. Now, it is not uncommon for people to make New Year's resolutions. I know when I was younger, I used to make them all the time. I'd write them out, and sometimes they are helpful, and honestly, sometimes they are completely pointless. I get it. I think a more important thing that we can do with our lives, especially at these kind of pivotal moments in our lives, is to be willing to ask ourselves the difficult questions. Questions that lead to personal honesty and transparency, and that can really help us begin to make wise and life-changing decisions for ourselves and for our families. I love these kind of crux moments in our lives where we are forced to do things like this. I want to give you some questions to challenge you with, and really to challenge myself with, as we start things off this year. Every now and then I meet people who have friends or spouses who are willing to ask these kinds of questions of us. But there are not many. I hate saying that. There are not many. So, yeah, that is an ambulance going by. Has played through one time fully. It's archived and you can go back and look if you would like to. I'm also going to use these questions over the next few weeks, and they'll appear in emails and social media and so forth to be a reminder to you to not just ask these questions once, but to ask them and attempt to answer them again and again. It's going to go pretty quick. I'm just going to pretty much say the questions, and this is how we'll start this off. But I promise you we'll continue on with these as the weeks go on. Question number 1. What is the single biggest time waster in your life? And what will you do about it this year? Look, we all waste time. Maybe it's time we own it. Maybe it's time we do something about it. Question number 2. What is the most helpful new way you could make a difference at North Point this year? We have said this many times. I'm certain we'll say it again. Church is weird these days. We don't get to be with each other the way that we used to be. We don't get to serve side by side in the same ways. We don't rub elbows. We don't gather together a great deal. And honestly, in the weeks going forward, we're probably going to have to do it even less as we safeguard ourselves and our families. But the question still has to be asked. How are you going to make a difference in our church family this year? Number 3, what is your biggest regret of 2020? Nobody can answer that one for you. What is your biggest regret in the last year? You got to identify it if you're ever going to be able to do something about it. Number 4, if those who know you best gave you one piece of advice for your life, what would they say? What do you think they would say? Do you think they would be right? And maybe more importantly, what would you do about it if that person who knew you the best gave you that advice right now? Number 5, what is your biggest fear of becoming serious about following Jesus? Maybe you are already serious about following him, and so this question really doesn't apply to you. But if you know in your heart that you are not taking the words and the commands of Jesus seriously, what's your biggest fear? Why not? Why are you not taking him seriously? Number 6, what is the most important thing that you could do to improve the quality of your family life this year? What does your family need from you? How does your family life need to improve? What's the one biggest step you could take to see that happen? Number 7, and this may be the most difficult one on my list here. What secret are you hiding that needs to be exposed for you to become a different person? What is that thing? What is that stuff about you that you are tucking away, hiding, stuffing down, that nobody knows except for you and God, that probably needs to be exposed for you to be able to move forward with your life? What is that? You're not going to move forward unless you own it. Maybe there is no better time than right now to do that. Number 8. What skill do you most want to learn or improve this year? I don't know. It may be something fun. It may be something serious. It may be something that has a direct bearing on your spiritual life or your family life. But what is that one skill that needs to improve for you to move on with the things that are important in your life? Number 9. What is the boldest thing you will ask God to do this year? I would imagine, since you are here with us right now, that you believe in the power of God. You believe those words that with God nothing is impossible. So, are you gonna put him to the test? He is more than capable of handling whatever your requests are. I guarantee you that. So, what's the boldest thing you're going to ask him to do? I guarantee you it is never going to be a huge issue in your life until you do. Maybe it's time to get on with that also. And finally, number 10 is my last one. In what area of your spiritual life do you need the most help? Just kind of look at your spiritual life. And you can define that really any way that you want to. It can be internal, it can be a practice, it can be something that affects the way that you interact with other people. It could be really anything that has to do with how you interact with God. Where do you need the most help? And then what is keeping you from asking for that help? Those two have to go together. What is it that you need, and why aren't you asking for help? Those are my 10. There are dozens more, no doubt. But those are my 10 for us here at North Point. And we'll circle back to them this year. Certainly in the next couple of weeks, a lot. But those are from me to you. So, as we continue this morning, let's let the words of this prayer that they're going to scroll on your screen here in just a second. Let the words of this prayer be ours this morning as we pray them in our hearts today.
Faithful Hall of Fame, Joshua. This is Joshua.
Hello.
Joshua was the leader of the Israelites, who God would use to take his people into the promised land.
Yeah, let's do it.
Joshua readied his people to cross the Jordan River, which was the only thing dividing the Israelites from the land that God had promised to them.
All right. Right here. Okay.
They camped beside the river for 3 days, waiting, just as the Lord had commanded them. At this time of year, the Jordan River was flooded and flowing with so much water that it was impossible to cross on foot.
And then the Lord said, "Let there be light." Hey, priest.
Yeah.
Come on.
God told Joshua to tell the people that the priests would carry the Ark of the Covenant and lead the people through the water. He told the priests to step into the rushing waters.
What? Huh?
And when they would do this, the waters would stop flowing.
Alright.
And as soon as the priests did this, the water of the Jordan River did stop flowing.
Yeah.
And the priests stood with the Ark of the Covenant on dry ground as the Israelites crossed to the other side.
All right.
God told Joshua to send 12 men from the 12 tribes of Israel
Go get it.
to take 12 stones from the place that the priests were standing. When all this had been finished as God commanded, Joshua called the priests from the Jordan.
We're good. Come on.
As their feet left the Jordan River, the waters came back into place, just as they had been.
Wow. Yeah.
They brought their stones to their camp and set them as a memorial, so future generations might remember the story of how God brought his people through the Jordan River on dry ground.
This Old Testament story is pretty familiar to church people. Moses had led the children of Israel out of Egypt towards the land that God had promised them. And before they got there, he died. And he passed on the leadership mantle to Joshua to finish that journey, to take them home. In this little part of the story that you got to look at on the cartoon, there are 3 more questions that are buried in this story. I could have easily added these questions to my 10 that I shared with you earlier, but these ones are really specific to this story. I'm going to read. I want to read 4 verses, 2 and then 1 each as we go through it, out of Joshua chapter 3, and I'm going to read verses 2 and 3 right now. After 3 days, the officers went throughout the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the Ark of the Covenant of our Lord your God, and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. It's really funny in our culture. Most people get their understanding, or at least their mental image, of the Ark of the Covenant from a movie from years and years and years ago called Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that was, for many people, kind of their first glimpse into what this thing was in this fictional movie. But the Ark of the Covenant was something very real, and actually in the cartoon it depicted it pretty well. It was an ornate wooden box that was about 4 feet by 2 feet by 2.5 feet. It was covered with gold. There were angels on top. There were rings and poles so it could be carried. Inside that ark, or that cabinet, is really what it was. There were 2 tablets of stone, which were the original 10 commandments that Moses brought down from the mountain. And those tablets symbolized God's authority. There was also a jar of manna, that those little food wafers that floated down from heaven to feed the Israelites when they were starving out in the desert. And those certainly represented God's provision during that time. The rod that Aaron used, symbolizing God's power and that nothing is impossible with God. And that ark would be carried out in front of them as they traveled. And they were told to follow it because it represents God's presence and a reminder of his leading of them. And so I want to ask you this first question. What is your reminder to follow God? What's that thing that smacks you upside the head? What's that thing that jars your memory? What's that thing that grabs your heart on a regular basis that reminds you that your life has been surrendered to God? It's pretty funny. This wall behind me is really full of those kinds of reminders for me. There are trinkets, there are books, there are symbols, there are things. I have just always been a person who benefited by symbols in my life. They are at my house, they are in my bedroom, they are in my car, they are everywhere. Reminders of those things that are important to me. These things up here certainly are the ones that remind me to follow Jesus and to take my spiritual life seriously, to honor God in everything that I do. That's what the Ark of the Covenant was to the children of Israel. This passage continues in verse 4. It says, "Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Do not go near it." There are 2 things that are said in this, in this verse. The first one is, he reminds them that they have never ever been this way before. I want to remind you of this. I probably reminded you of it at the beginning of 2020, that we had never been this way before. Little did we know what was in store for us in this year. But 2020 is over. It's gone forever. No going back, no do-overs. Nobody really wants to anyway. That's one of the great things. But the only thing left for us to do is to look ahead. And we've never ever been there before. If 2020 did anything for us, it reminded us of just how fragile and unpredictable life is. For 2021, we don't get a practice run. We don't really get much of a preview, even though there are lots of people predicting what 2021 could be like. All I know is it's all going to be new every day, because we've never been this way before. We have no idea. There may be some similarities to the past, but we've never passed this way. And those officers who were speaking to the Israelites, they said another thing in that verse. It said, "So keep the ark at a distance." I don't know. At first glance, that's kind of a peculiar thing to say. Why did they need to keep the ark out there at a distance? Well, I think at a minimum, it's because the ark needed to be clearly visible. You know, if there's something important in front of us, but we are pressed into the back of people and it's out there in front, it is pretty easy to only see what is right in front of you. you and I have both been in lines where we're trying to see something that's going on up in front, but we can't see it because there's people in front of us. I think that was the core of the problem that Zacchaeus might have had, that forced him to climb up in a tree to be able to see Jesus. You get too close to things, and it gets obscured by the people in front of us. You put the ark a half a mile ahead, you can follow the ark. You get too close, you follow the people in front of you. Just kind of go where they go. The ark in front, they followed God. So here's my second question for you out of this story. Who's leading the way of your life? Can you see the Ark of the Covenant in front of you? Now, we don't have an Ark of the Covenant, but we certainly know that God is out in front leading. So are you going to follow God, or are you going to follow people, the words of people? Or worse yet, are you just going to trust yourself and kind of wander where you want to go, where your heart wants to take you, where your circumstances have affected you, and you just kind of go along, trusting yourself? What are you going to do? Well, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to listen to Joshua at the very end of this little section of this story where he says these words. Joshua told the people, "Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you." Consecrate yourself, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Consecrate. The word, it's not a word we use really at all in our culture. The word means to prepare yourself, to dedicate yourself. More specifically, it means to separate. This was used as a pivotal word in the ceremonial cleansing that the Israelites were to do on a regular basis, that symbolizes being separated and set apart for God's holy use. So Joshua says, now, right now, consecrate yourselves. For tomorrow, you'll see the amazing things that God will do. To consecrate means to be set apart for a sacred purpose. I would put it this way. Are you ready to prepare yourself to be used by God? That's the sacred purpose, to be used by God. This is the ultimate connection between head and heart and actions for people. What if this was the year? I don't even got to go there. What if this was the day that you simply made yourself available to be used by God, to be amazed by God? What if this was that time? What if this was the year that you set on a journey of fully dedicating yourself to honor God and to follow His leading as a husband, as a wife, as a child, as a student, as an employee, as a teammate, as a neighbor, as a friend, as a co-worker, or simply as a servant of the Most High? Really, it wouldn't matter at all that you haven't been this way before. Look who would be leading. So I want you to take your juice and your bread, and just like the Ark of the Covenant, and its contents were reminders to the children of Israel to follow the one true God, the bread and the juice are our physical reminders that Jesus is here and he is worth following. His words and his ways are higher and greater and more profound than ours. In fact, they are greater and higher and more profound than any other words and any other actions that have ever appeared in humanity. And his presence will change us and transform us. Certainly it will change and transform those who are dedicated and consecrated to him. Remember that as you share the bread and the juice this morning.
Oh, that you would burst from heaven, and how the mountains would quake, but you would make the nations tremble. All your enemies would learn of your fame. How then shall we be saved? How can we be saved? Since the world began, no ear has heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you. Since the world began, no ear has heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you. Like autumn leaves, we all wither,
We all fall down.
swept away by the wind.
Who's that to end?
Oh, have mercy on us, Father. Please don't remember our sin. How then shall we be saved? How can we be saved? Since the world began, no ears heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you. Since the world began, no ears heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you. Oh, Lord, you are our Father. We are clay, you are the potter. We are all formed by your hand, according to your plan. Oh, Lord, you are our Father. We are clay, but you're the potter. We are all formed by your hand, according to your plan. Since the world began, no ears heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you. Since the world began, no ears heard, no eye has seen God like you. Oh, God like you.
This week, remember the three questions from this Old Testament story. What is your reminder to follow? Who is leading your life? You, or the voices of other people, or Jesus the King? And finally, are you fully consecrated? Are you set apart? Are you dedicated to honoring Jesus and following His words and His ways? 3 questions. Start your year off right. Follow Him well this week. That's your job. So until next time, see you.